Hey guys, welcome back to another Plan With Me. This week I'm planning from September 4th to the 10th, and I'm using this kit from a shop called Rose Printables. I'm not totally sure why it says Sab's Planner Prints on the actual sticker sheets, but I definitely got this from Rose Printables, and it's called Wanderlust. I don't know if maybe somebody stole somebody's... I don't know. Either way, that's where I got this. And I clearly paired it with this matte black gold foil bundle that I got as a rack from Monsterz Co. And let me just say, I love how the base of this kit turned out. Like before I started planning the days, I was obsessed. I was just like, yes, this is everything. This is amazing. I went over the top adding, because I still have foil tapes from when I was like consistently doing foil, and I even, you'll see towards the end, I sliced individual stars out of one of the foil overlays. Like I was going all out, and it was just beautiful until I actually started doing my plans. So much happened this week, and there was so much I wanted to mark, and I just didn't plan very well. You'll see on Sunday I added part of a day extender, and I counted the number of things I wanted to mark, and I was like, oh, this is more than enough space. But then after I had put it down, I realized I needed way more space, and I should have just put the entire day extender, giving myself basically 4 complete blank full boxes to fill. I did not do that, so I ended up having to leave a couple things out. And also, I've mentioned this before, but because this is a printable kit, I had to obviously print and cut it myself. And my sticker paper is just way too sticky. If anybody has any recommendations on glossy or semi-gloss sticker paper that is just the same quality you would get from a sticker shop, please let me know. I don't want to ask a sticker shop owner just because I don't know. I feel like they like to keep their secrets, and I'm trying to respect that. But I need help because this sticker paper sucks. And you will see me, I cut some of it out, but you'll still see me multiple times struggle with placement. And because I had so many things that I wanted to mark and none of the sizing was really working, I was just lifting these stickers up constantly, ruining them. It was a whole mess. And then to top it off, my pens have been drying out, and I think I have one left that's sort of working. I definitely need to purchase some more, place an order or something, because it's ruining my spreads at this point. And I also, unfortunately, smudged one of the stickers with my hand. I am left-handed. It happens not very often in my planner, but unfortunately it did happen this time. And because these stickers are so sticky, there is no way I'm getting this up. And I don't have undo. So there you go. Now, as far as this week, I have really been procrastinating doing this entire plan with me. I procrastinated actually pulling the stickers, filming, and then I procrastinated the voiceover. I actually tried it once before, and I don't know, it was just a mess. So here we are again. If this doesn't work out, oh well, this was just meant to be a hot mess express. This was the week of my business trip to Prague, and it was a disaster. Let's just say it was a disaster. Now, I'm not going to lie and say that nothing good happened. I met some really nice people who I wish I could see again someday, but they live all over the damn world, so it's never going to happen. And I did get to sightsee a little bit, but not much. Basically, from Wednesday until Saturday, 4 days in a row, we had 9.5-hour days of just meetings. We got a lunch break, but just meetings all day. I was up at 6:30 every day, and I wasn't getting back to my hotel room until 10, 11 o'clock at night, pretty much every night. So it was a lot. And I also was incredibly jet lagged because I did take a 7 p.m. flight, and then, what is that, 6 hours, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Oh, so that's a 1 a.m. flight. Prague time. And then I didn't get to Prague until Tuesday evening, Prague time. It was insane. And I only slept for an hour on the plane. And then I napped for another like 2 hours in one of the airport lounges in Switzerland. But other than that, I didn't sleep. And so by our first meeting on Wednesday, I was struggling, and I hadn't found, not that I had much time, but I hadn't found any sugar-free Red Bull at that point. So, and my stomach, it was so bad. I was sick almost every day at some point during the day. So there was no way in hell I was drinking coffee on this trip. I used to be able to handle coffee just fine, but now it needs to be very situational. Like, I need a full stomach of food. I need to not be out walking or nervous. Like, I need to be, relaxed. Like, it's a whole thing. It doesn't matter. The point is, I had no caffeine. I was jet lagged. It was terrible. And then on top of that, if you saw my last plan with me, you'll know that I got a new piercing put into a couple of my existing holes, and one of them was put in a piercing I've had for 13 years, almost 14 years. And I forgot that your ears are constantly trying to heal themselves. I wish the piercer had reminded me, because joke's on me, the whole reason I didn't just buy earrings online and do it myself is because I just wanted it done right. So I'm sure it was done right. It's obviously not her fault that this happened. I just thought it was funny. Anyway, I had an incredibly bad infection. It got super irritated. It was 100% infected. And the problem was, I was in a foreign country. I didn't know where to get distilled water and sea salt. And even if I got that stuff from somewhere, I didn't have a microwave to heat it up in 2 times a day, a shot glass to stick my ear in. I just didn't have the materials, and I'm too anxious of a person to go around asking oh, can I use the microwave in the hotel? I don't even know if they had a microwave in the hotel, so I just sucked it up. But the point is that by the time I got home on Sunday, my ear infection was so bad that I had pain shooting all the way into my skull. The entire right side of my jaw was just throbbing, and I had essentially a migraine all over the entire right side of my head. I was just dying for days on end. I couldn't sleep on that side. It was just a mess. I was just basically sick this entire trip. And I think other than that, the only other, oh my God. I can go into detail at a different time, maybe on Instagram, about this, because I cannot express in the time we have remaining during this this base to tell you how filthy my hotel room was. But I will tell you that my boss switched hotel rooms twice. So she was in 3 different rooms total, and I switched rooms once. And I got the only remaining room left, and I almost didn't get it because they said that maintenance had to do something to it before anybody could use the room. But this was just the most disgusting hotel on the entire planet. The first room I was in, they hadn't changed the sheets. They hadn't vacuumed in years, probably decades. There was urine all over the toilet seat. I need to insert a picture of the camera, or not the camera, the mirror that they expected me to do my hair and makeup in. It was laughable. It was a tiny little circular mirror, I don't know, 6 inches wide, maybe 8 max. And it was at the height of a 6 foot tall man. So even angle, I had to angle it down, and I would have to look straight up at the goddamn ceiling to even see myself. It was a joke. And then even though the second room was cleaner, luckily, it was still a really weird layout. And just I will say that the sink where you wash your face and everything was about 1.5 feet away from the edge of the bed, on carpet. The sink was in the room, in the bedroom, on carpeted flooring. And that's where you washed your face and brushed your teeth and everything, right at the edge of your bed. I could basically sit on the bed and do my morning routine. It was ridiculous. And then the first bedroom didn't have a shower. The shower and the sink and the mirror where you do your hair and stuff was all one tiny room. So every time you took a shower, the sink and everything over there gets wet. Well, this room luckily had a separate shower, but no shower curtain. And it was directly next to the toilet. So anytime I took a shower, the entire toilet got soaked with water. It was just stupid. And then the final other thing that happened on this trip, I won't go into like a ton of detail. Maybe I will, who knows. But one of the people I met who works for the company, and actually I've talked to him quite a few times over Teams, he was pretty inappropriate with me and made me feel uncomfortable. He did get the hint and then like leave me alone after that, but it was not cute. And like, I don't know what the rules are in Europe about like sexual harassment or whatever, but like it would not have been like if we were in the US and we all worked for a US company, I probably would have said something to my boss. It was definitely inappropriate. But yeah, I don't know. So all in all, the trip was like 80% terrible, 20% good. Yeah, I don't know. It was a lot. And then finally we're leaving Prague and it's 4 a.m. because we had a really early flight. So it's basically like waking up at 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And then I didn't get home until 7 p.m. the next day, Eastern Standard Time, if that makes sense. So it's like I woke up at 10 p.m. on Saturday and got home at 7 p.m. on Sunday. It was hell. And my boss and I, we woke up at 4 a.m. to like get all of our stuff and check out of the hotel. And we get a text message that says that our flight has been delayed by 2 hours, which meant we were going to miss our connecting, which was like a whole thing. Fortunately, her husband worked some magic and was able to get us on the next flight. And I guess the bright side of that is I did get an entire row to myself. So that was nice. Silver lining. But anyway, I think that's like the main things that happened this week. So let's just get into the day by day, starting with Monday. The first thing I marked with a Once More with Love munchkin was that I slept like shit. What else is new? I then used, you'll see at the end, I throw in these super old Monsterz Co, I think like J. Crew plans, script stickers. They're huge. They're way too big for my spread, but they matched the foil and I don't know when I will ever get another chance to use them. So I figured, screw it, let's just use them. So you'll see me add them at the end, but I use a huge pack foiled script and a Carly Plans suitcase to mark that I was just getting like the final touches done. I had already packed on Saturday, but I packed the 2 Target shirts that I had purchased for the trip and like just last minute things like my moisturizers and stuff that I had been using on Sunday and Monday morning. Then with a sad munchkin, I marked that I was having anxiety. Of course I was, duh. And then Joe drove me to the airport. I just used one of the icons from the foil bundle to mark that. And then I marked my flight to Zurich, Switzerland. There are no longer direct flights to Prague. I learned that American Airlines, sorry if you can hear the honking outside, American Airlines pulled out of the Czech Republic during COVID. So now you cannot get a direct flight. You have to get a connecting. So this was the first flight to Zurich, and I just used a Once More with Love flying sticker to mark that. Then with this half box and an icon, as well as a Once More with Love scary movie sticker, I marked that I finally watched John Wick, and I'm just gonna say I hated it. I'm also gonna say I didn't give it enough of a chance, and that is because the scene with the puppy upset me so much. No animal cruelty scene in a movie has ever upset me that much in my life. I was disgusted. And then the rest of the movie wasn't good enough or exciting enough to make up for how upset that scene made me, if that makes sense. Like, I love that the whole movie's basis is like he's avenging his puppy. Like, that's cool. But it was still just too basic and too boring and just all about guns. It just, for me, it didn't make up for the trauma from that scene. So that's where I am with that. But I also watched Moana finally, which has been on my list for a really long time. I even started it once and turned it off like 20 seconds in just because I was convinced it wasn't my thing, but I did think it was cute. And then my favorite movie that I watched on this flight was Renfield. I really liked that, and I had a feeling I would, but I liked it even more than I thought I would, probably because there wasn't too much Nicolas Cage. Just enough Nicolas Cage. And then the final thing I marked on Monday with an emoji is that I almost puked. I've never come this close to puking on a plane before because I don't get like motion sick from a plane, only from a car. But the thing is, I fell asleep for about an hour, and when I am sleep deprived and jolted awake, it does something to me and I get like violently ill. So yeah, I couldn't wait to get off that plane. I thought I was gonna blow chunks all over the nice couple sitting next to me. Moving on to Tuesday, the first thing I marked was that this was just a full-ass travel day, and I used a little traveling emoji to mark that, as well as another script. I was able to nap a little bit. My boss flies all over the damn world, and she has the ability to get into lounges. I've never felt so bougie in my life. So she took me into, she was actually vacationing in Switzerland a few days before we had to go to Prague. So she met me in Switzerland and got me into the lounge, and I was able to nap a little bit because those chairs are way more comfortable. And then we took the flight to Prague together. Under that, with this cleaning emoji, I marked that the hotel room was filthy, like I said. Like, there was even a used spoon with yogurt and granola still stuck to it, and they just placed it back on top of the rest of the spoons in the coffee station. Like, they did nothing in this room. It was repulsive. After that, we did have a dinner with everybody, and I was just so tired. Like, I had laid on top of the bed, the made bed, not the gross used sheets, luckily. I just like collapsed on the bed for an hour before we had to go to dinner. I really wish I could have skipped that dinner, but I mean, I guess I hadn't eaten in a while, so it was fine. But I just marked with an icon that we met most of the people. Funnily enough, I don't know if that's a word. We did not meet the boss, baby boy, Nepo baby, because he accidentally locked himself out or in his Prague apartment. He lives in Germany, so of course he has an apartment in Prague because he's fancy. But yeah, so he couldn't come because he needed keys to his apartment, so that was sort of funny. After dinner, I was able to switch into the room that maintenance finished with. It was all the way on the 5th floor, and the walk was so scary because there are motion detectors, like, for the lights, but they're kind of faulty. So, like, you're walking in the dark for quite a while alone before they actually switch on. But yeah, I was able to switch rooms, and I just marked that with these Sticky Perks keys. Then under that, with an insomnia munchkin, I just marked that I was trying to remind myself that it will all be over soon, and it's not that big of a deal that I'm in a messy room. I can survive. Moving on to Wednesday, with this little emoji with a backpack, I marked that my boss and I walked to the office, and it was a really pretty walk, I will say that, and the office was only 10 minutes away on foot from our hotel, so that's pretty nice. Then with this Stick with the Plan Co. girl, I marked that I was very jet lagged and I had no Red Bull. I couldn't find sugar-free. I found regular, but regular is sometimes too sweet for me, so I decided to just like opt out of it for this day, and it was a hard day, let me tell you. And then under this really sad day extender that I created, and here is where I had to pull up a lot of stickers, and it was very painful for me. But under the day extender, I marked that everyone saw me falling asleep. Because we were in a room of like 14 people, I didn't want to smack myself to keep myself awake. So I was just constantly like, my eyes were rolling in the back of my head, and I was going cross-eyed, and everybody saw me. Like, I know they did because they told me at dinner later that night. So that was embarrassing. And I used a little sleeping munchkin to mark that. And it's actually pretty accurate. That's sort of where I sat at the conference table. So that's fun. I marked that we went to lunch, and we went to this restaurant, I think called Dominica or Dominka, I can't remember, every single day for lunch. The Caesar salad with chicken was decent. They had one like pasta pomodoro, like a lunch special once that was decent. But other than that, the food was like, oh, and the salmon was delicious. I will say the salmon was delicious. I mean, we went to lunch every single day, but I just marked it on this day for who knows why. And I used this Papershire sticker to mark that. And then after work on our walk back to the hotel, I found a sugar-free Red Bull. So I got 2. And I found out that I would get reimbursed for those. So that's fun. Free Red Bull. Actually, very reasonably priced. Things in Prague were pretty affordable. So that was cool. And I just marked that with this emoji. And then we went back to the hotel, but only had 15 minutes to lie down before we had to go to dinner. Also, if you could believe it, the 9.5-hour meeting ran long. So we had even less time to relax before dinner. So I just marked that I laid down for 15 minutes and used an icon from the kit that I cut down to mark that. Then we had dinner with everybody. We went to this place that had really cool aesthetics, but like the food was blah. Like I got gnocchi because there's a lot of meat in Prague and meat doesn't always agree with me. So I got gnocchi, but it had this like cold cheese on top of it that I didn't know it was going to have. And I don't like cold pasta unless it's like American pasta salad. So I wasn't like thrilled with that, but dinner was fine. And I always get these confused. This is either Monsterz Co or Once More with Love. They have similar stickers. Then we finally got to do some sightseeing, and I used this Papershire statue. What is this called? It's called I always want to say stump. It's not called a bust. This Papershire bust to mark sightseeing. We got to see like the town square with like the big cool clock and all that stuff. And we walked across like the famous bridge. And there was this huge castle that looked like it was like Beauty and the Beast's castle. It was very cool. But I was very tired. We ended up walking 14,000 steps, and I marked that with a little munchkin. And then I had to take a shower with no shower curtain, and I used a bathtub to mark that because that's basically what it was. I was standing in a bathtub, getting water all over the place. Moving on to Thursday, I was just struggle bussing, of course. So I marked that with a munchkin. And by the way, this bathtub I think was on like from a kit. Then with a fancy label and this Coffee Monsterz Co. conference room table, I marked that we just had more presentations this day, and I had to talk, and I was not happy. I was the only person, like assistant, who spoke, and I was very unhappy that I had to speak. So I was just really nervous to talk, marked that with a munchkin. And then for dinner, we went to like the absolute worst restaurant. It was terrible. The food was awful. I ate like basically 2 bites of chicken out of my chicken wrap and some French fries. And then immediately after eating, I got violently sick and I had to leave. Fortunately, this was the one restaurant that was a block away from the hotel. So I made it, luckily, but I had to excuse myself. Everybody was getting drinks and I ran back to the hotel, took some Imodium. That did nothing. Had a whole crisis in the bathroom. It was just terrible. So I just marked that with this running icon. And then I said immediately got sick and I used a little munchkin on a toilet to mark that. Then after my stomach finally started to calm down a little, I was like embarrassed. So I did go back and have a beer with everybody. There was so much peer pressure to drink. It was insane. I don't think I have enough time to go into this evening. It was like a crazy evening. But yeah, basically the boss, he like really wanted me to drink a beer. It's okay. Like it was fun, but it was like extra, let me tell you. So I used this munchkin holding a beer to mark that. And then the super inappropriate moment with my colleague happened, and I used an awkward munchkin to mark that. I really did not enjoy that part of the evening. So then I marked that I tried to leave because I just wanted to go back to my hotel. My stomach was still weird. Like, I'm not gonna lie, there were still things going on in the restaurant bathroom. So I just wanted to go home, especially after the incident. But the boss, like all of our boss, chased me to my hotel and then like held the hotel door open and begged me to stay for like 30 more minutes because we were all bonding. So I stayed out until like 11:30. My boss had gone back to the hotel at like 10. But whatever. And I just marked with a half box and this drunk emoji that all of my coworkers were just extremely drunk. Like they were so drunk, and the boss man kept handing me shots and like gin and tonics and stuff, and I was just like giving them to everybody because there was no way I was drinking them. And then the final thing I marked was that I had insomnia, and I used a munchkin to mark that, and like, can you blame me? Moving on to Friday, the first thing I marked was that my stomach was killing me, and I tried to take Pepto-Bismol. I didn't have any bathroom emergencies, thank God, because I was in a very full office with like 2 tiny bathrooms right outside the conference room, so that would have been a nightmare. But I had like excruciating gas pain, like excruciating. I couldn't even bend at the waist, so I was just slouching in my chair for 9.5 hours, just in like shooting pains in my stomach. It was awful. So I just marked kill me because I was struggling at this conference room table and just used another Coffee Monsterz Co table for that. And then this was the lunch that actually tasted good, and I used this Sticky Perks pasta to mark that. This is when my ear really started bothering me and like really getting bad. So I marked the piercing was infected. This is a Pumpkin Paper Co headache, Tara, but I just blocked out headache. It technically was a headache. I mean, it was an ache in my head, but yeah, this is when it got to the point where like I couldn't just ignore it. Like it was really painful. And then after work, I was still just in so much pain with my stomach. So I used this little nauseous munchkin to mark that. Like I was struggling this day, let me tell you, but I still powered through because I really wanted to see the Prague Castle. I had come all this way. I wanted to see some shit. So we walked to the Prague Castle, and I used this little hiking munchkin for that. Then my boss and I power walked home. She actually did me a favor because I was getting really sick on the public transportation, and it also had no AC. So being on a moving bus, like in the back, in just heat, I was getting so sick. So she walked back with me, even though it was like 2 miles. So we power walked. And then TMI, but I finally passed a little bit of gas, and that was just such a relief because the shooting pain got a little less. And I used a munchkin to mark that. And then the final thing I marked for Friday was that I called my friend, and I just used an icon to mark that. Moving on to Saturday, the first thing I marked with a happy munchkin was that it was the last day of meetings. I was so happy. And early in the morning, our boss told everybody that we weren't going to start until 9 a.m. this day. So that was nice. I did mark that I was just so bored, and I used this Coffee Monsterz Co conference room table to mark that. It was just like everybody was so long-winded and going over the time. Like we were supposed to be done by 4:30 on Saturday, and it still went till almost 5:30. So it wasn't really that much of a shorter day. And because we went over our time, we didn't have a lot of personal time between work and dinner. And so the only time I had to buy any type of souvenir was to walk into the convenience store right outside our hotel. And I just bought a couple chocolate bars. One that I definitely had never heard of in the States, and 2 Milka bars, but I think one of them was definitely like an exclusive. I've never seen it in the States either. And the other one I wasn't totally sure on, but like I was in a rush, so I just grabbed them. And then I used this game night sticker. It wasn't really a game night, but we did play darts a little bit at the restaurant. So I used it. Oh, sorry, I skipped that it was the last dinner. I used an icon to mark the last dinner, and then game night at the restaurant. And then afterwards, we said goodbye to about like half the people who had flights that evening or were driving home because Germany and Poland, I guess, are like a train ride away or whatever. I don't know. That's like how Europe works, I guess. I'm terrible at geography. Like, I know they're all clustered together. I know Germany's close, but I don't know where Poland is. But the Polish people, I think they were driving back home that night. Then the rest of us walked through the wine festival, which was really nice. I had literally 2 sips because my boss and I had to be up at 4 a.m. the next day, so I wasn't trying to like go crazy. Some people were actually staying until Monday, but either way, it was fun. And we saw a wild hedgehog. Hedgehogs are wild there. Crazy. It's like squirrels. They're pets here, so I thought that was fun. And then we said goodbye to the remaining group of people, and I just really liked a lot of them. I wish we could hang out, or like I wish I could go visit them, but I don't think I'll ever be able to afford a trip to China. So yeah, like we had people from China at this thing. It was crazy. Like I think like France, China, Germany, Italy, Spain, Poland, and I'm forgetting one, I'm not sure. And then the final thing I marked was that I had insomnia because, of course, I was like stressing about waking up at 4 a.m. First thing I marked on Sunday was that I got up at 4 a.m. and I used this old school coffee Monsterz Co. alarm clock to mark that. And then with this no munchkin, I marked that we had our flight delayed, which was just like terrible news. And that was a little bit dramatic, but fortunately my boss's husband took care of everything. Then with this car from Sticky Perks, I marked that we checked out of the hotel and got an Uber back to the airport. Then we had some time to kill. We just decided to go to the airport at our normal time because we were already awake anyway. And we just hung out in a lounge until it was time to catch our flight to London. So I used a plane icon to mark going to London, and I think there's 2 main airports in London. The one we went to has the most strict rules when it comes to liquids. My boss had to shove a bunch of stuff in my liquids bag because they were saying that she had too many liquids. It was an experience. And we just hung out in a bunch of lounges because we had so much time to kill before our flight. So I used this emoji holding a chips bag because I did take 2 little bags of chips with me to the US. I just thought that it was cool to have chips from England, and they were this flavor. It was mustard and haggis, or no, mustard and something. I don't know, some weird meat. It was the weirdest flavor, and then I just grabbed a plain bag just, to cover all my bases, so that was fun. And then with this Once More with Love sticker with 2 people on a plane, I marked that we were flying home. And then on this flight, because I just really can't sleep on planes, I watched Jerry Maguire, Sex and the City 2, and Bridesmaids. The only movie I hadn't seen before was Jerry Maguire, but I'd heard so much about it. Hands down, the worst love story of all time. He's a douchebag, she's an idiot, and terrible, terrible, terrible. And yeah, it's funny. I actually thought I was going to get so much reading done on this trip because I thought I'd be alone in my hotel room and I thought I'd read on the planes, but I just couldn't focus on a book. I had to just watch movies to make the time go by as quickly as possible. So that was sort of funny. And then finally, I was back in Philadelphia and I used this really happy munchkin with all of its luggage to mark that. And then Joe picked me up, and first thing we had to do was go to my apartment because my roommate had left on Saturday morning to go to her mom's house. So I needed to go take care of the cats, and I used a paw print icon for that. And then with this Drama Queen munchkin, I marked that I just cried when I got home because my apartment was not up to my standards. It wasn't clean enough for me. It smelled weird, and I was so sleep deprived that I was just so upset. So I ended up just taking care of the cats. Joe did the litter for me, and then I went back to his place because I could not deal with cleaning my apartment at that point. I had to be at work the next day. I was exhausted, so it just, I was having a meltdown. When I got to Joe's place, the first thing I did was take a shower. I could not wait to get all of the traveling off my body, and I used a pumpkin paper coterra to mark that. And then the final thing I marked on Sunday with this Stick with the Plain Co girl on the couch was that I fell asleep on the couch. We were going to get pizza, but I ended up just being too tired, and I fell asleep, and then when I woke up, I just went to bed. I went to bed without dinner. I just could not anymore. It was done. And then, I went to work the next morning, or I worked remotely, but still. And I think I was still so jet lagged. I woke up at 4 a.m. and just looked at my phone until 7:30 and then just started work at 7:30 because, Anyway, I'm sure I left some stuff out, some details, because this was just a crazy week for me. This was just way overstimulating. I really wish I could go back to Europe myself, but at least I finally have a passport, and at least I got a free flight to Europe. So there's that. But anyway, thank you so much for watching. I will see you in the next one. Bye.